Good evening, everyone. We might make a start. I've decided to sack the lectern for myself because I feel like there's not that many in the room that I need to use the microphone or yell. But thank you very much for coming tonight. We weren't sure how many numbers would be here. Obviously, this is the first time we've run this evening for, and I saw Clint was talking about it before. You reckon it's 5 years?
Yep, 2019 was the
Yeah,
last
we did that in the old MacKillop Centre where we had all the different groups that or the immersions that we were offering. Different groups were there. Parents came in, and the numbers were extraordinary. We had heaps of numbers there. But we're obviously slowly trying to get our immersion program back up and running. And night time, cold outside, so much sport on. So I really do appreciate sport and activities, and I do appreciate you coming along this evening. We will commence tonight with an acknowledgement of country. Thanks for telling.
As we gather on the ancient lands of the Wadawurrung people, we pay our respects to their elders past and present. They have safeguarded the work of God's creations for thousands of generations. From the Yuyangs and the Port Phillip Bay in the north, to the Barwon River and the Conowari wetlands in the west, down to the Bass Strait of our coastal shores in the south and east. These lands and waterways have coexisted in kinship with the Wadawurrung people, their elders and their dreamings for thousands of generations. These lands are, and always have been, life-giving, a place that can provide for us, a place for us to belong, a place to take refuge and shelter, and a place to gather and tell stories. Today we gather together in a similar spirit and commit ourselves to an ongoing journey of reconciliation and healing.
Thanks, Tal. And as a Catholic community, it's important also to start evenings such as this with a prayer. So I'd like to ask Michael Todd, who's going to lead us in prayer this evening.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I mean, the acknowledgement is such a beautiful way that we have to formally kind of recognise the land we're on, the traditional custodians, and I love the word stories there. They gather for stories. Obviously, going on trips, having adventures is good fuel for stories. So I'm going to just have a little reflection as a way of praying tonight, to allow us to consider what it is like to heed that call for an adventure. We're going to get lots of practical information tonight, but I think that there's also that rather lovely idea that any kind of trip that we're taking away from home, perhaps for the first time, quite far from our families, is a step into the unknown, and so it's a bit of an adventure. So when we travel, the world becomes our classroom. New places, new faces, new experiences. Our horizons expand and our sense of identity expands too. We arrive in foreign places. We must adjust to different climates, different customs, currencies, different languages, different food. All of this is an amazing opportunity for learning. Away from the routine of school, and separated from the security of our families, we have to quickly form new relationships of trust with those who are our companions on the journey. We're often given greater responsibilities when we travel. There are greater expectations placed on us. We're invited to grow and mature as independent, trustworthy, compassionate people. So our hope at St. Ignatius College is that travelling to different parts of the world, experiencing different cultures, gives our students that greater appreciation for the world around them and how they might be of service in that world. We hope it gives our students a greater appreciation of different perspectives, different ways of doing things. We hope it gives our students a greater sense of awe and wonder at the beauty of creation. We also hope it gives our students a greater sense of their own gifts, what they offer people, and how they can relate to others and themselves. And finally, we hope it helps develop in our students a greater sense of gratitude for their own particular circumstances back at home, their upbringing, the support of their families, the opportunities they have been given at school. And we hope that this gratitude is expressed in their own efforts to become people for and with others. So I ask that we consider in this moment just becoming present, and perhaps that's for you closing your eyes or just focusing on something that draws you into stillness. We consider how God, who is always inviting us to grow, to change, to transform ourselves, to heed that call to adventure, that God is present to us, especially as we consider the invitation to travel. St. Ignatius, pray for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. So just to recap and I suppose touch on a few of the immersions that the school has decided to continue with. Obviously, our Cape York immersion is heading off next week, and so is our Indonesian language trip. So in regards to those, I suppose the Indonesian language trip and the Italian language trip, they won't be on offer until another 2 years. I'm looking at Diane to make sure I'm saying the right things there. But tonight's an opportunity for you to learn about those trips that will occur in 2 years. And as I said, the Indonesian one is actually heading off next week for an extended time. What you can see between the Cape York, Timor-Leste and Kokoda trip are all very, very different trips. Obviously the Cape York trip is designed for our students to get an understanding of up north, our Indigenous heritage that we have, and also a deeper understanding, I suppose, of some of the social issues that might be occurring for our Indigenous people in the current society. Timor-Leste is giving our students an opportunity for a world view and an understanding of social issues that are occurring on a world view. And obviously our Kokoda trip is there for our young people and their parent, guardian or mentor to, I suppose, continue that bond and relationship by doing an extremely tough trek in a pretty tough climate and conditions and getting to know one another on a different level, but supporting each other in those sorts of ways as well. So tonight's going to work very simply. We're going to go through all those different trips via the PowerPoint presentation. We'll have a presenter from each of those organisations that are running the particular trips. And then what you'll have is an opportunity to ask any questions you have outside of those particular presenters. Well, you are also very fortunate because, or I think it maybe is Timor. Michael, have you been to Timor with a Destination Dreaming? We haven't. So other than that, and obviously Clint's here, but for all the other trips, you have staff members here that have actually attended those trips as well. So there's a wealth of knowledge in the room in relation to the trips. But firstly, I'd like to invite, and I think it's Clint, or is it Pat from Red Earth that's for the Cape York one?
Pat, yeah.
Pat. So please put your hands together for Pat from Red Earth, who's going to go through the Cape York.
Thank you, thanks for coming everyone. So just want to run through, for the first time next year we're going to be offering 2 different itineraries for the Cape York trip, which we've never been able to do before, so it's really exciting. I just want to run you through what those 2 options are, go through a lot of my kind of favourite photos from immersion in the past, and yeah, just give you an idea of what these immersions are like. We've been working for 14 years with First Nations communities across Australia. It's very much an opportunity for students to go onto private homelands, which they wouldn't be able to access without being invited on, and get a real kind of connection with these communities and a chance to hear their stories. Not only their stories about Dreamtime in their own country, but what it's been like to not only grow up in a remote community, but to live there now and make a life there. We're really fortunate to bring people up, to bring economic opportunity to these homelands as well. They love having the students up, sharing that knowledge and giving young people a taste of what it is up in these communities. Cool, so let's run through. So, like I've seen this map before, it's a group of all the mobs around Australia, all extremely different cultures, traditions, languages. Where we're heading is up to Gulga Yimithirr country, up in Cape York. And a little bit of close up there on the right. So about 5 hours north of Cairns. It's a big drive. As soon as you start leaving out of Cairns, students will start noticing everything changing. You go through the Daintree up into that red soil country and start getting to these really remote areas. We have two different options next year. So the first is what we've been offering for the past 6-7 years for St Ignatius. The time spent at 1 or 2 homelands, really deep connections with those communities, ending with a Dreamtime Reef cruise on the Great Barrier Reef. So heading out with First Nations guides, learning about sea country, also being accompanied by a marine biologist to learn more about the reef and have an opportunity to see what's out there. So that's Orange coming out of the rainforest, heading up onto the tableland, heading north of Cape York. We'll keep going through. You can see just how far we go. So I've got one example of a homeland we'll be going to, Melsonby. It's where the students are heading to next week. So run by First Nations rangers. Uncle Bulla on the left there, it's his ancestral land. He's the head ranger out at Melsonby. Very remote place. The rangers out there are responsible for ancient rock art and preserving that and showing it to groups, as well as wildlife tracking. They're very knowledgeable about bush medicine, bush tucker. You'll notice outside a didgeridoo that Uncle Joe, one of the other rangers, made for the group last year. So they get a chance to kind of get a really good snapshot of what life is like up there. There's Uncle Joe on the right and Auntie Helen. They'll be welcome to country at whichever homeland they go to, experience the smoking ceremony. And as we roll through these, just more examples of what life on immersion is like. So out to the ancient rock art with the rangers at Melsonby, having bush tucker walks, tasting bush tucker, some of it palatable, some of it not so palatable to us maybe. And also potentially have a chance to do a corroboree with the local kids, learn some dancing, swims in the creek, cooling off after a hot day of work, doing some traditional painting. Uncle Joe up at Melsonby is quite a well-known painter. And having that opportunity in the evenings to sit around the fire, hear the stories of the Dreamtime and the country, and ask the questions about what life is like and has been like. I can see Isabella Falls there, where the students get an opportunity to swim out near Hopevale, the town out there. And this is our second option, which is new for next year. So the students will still go out to a First Nations homeland, one of those private homelands, an opportunity to spend time with the community. Then they'll also do a couple more more touristy activities led by First Nations cultural guides. So they'll head to Mossman Gorge, walk through with a First Nations guide, learn about the world's oldest rainforest, a chance to swim in that water, and then heading out to Fitzroy Island with a marine biologist. Fitzroy Island is known for its sea turtle conservation. They'll have a chance to get hands-on with the team out there, spend some time with the rehabilitation of the turtles, get out snorkeling on the reef, and again learn about sea country with those cultural guides. Cool, so those are our two options. We are going to be running an online parent night in October where we'll go in much more depth about what they involve and what students can expect from those immersions. And I'm more than happy to have a chat outside as well with you as the teachers who are heading up. So yeah, hope to see you online in a month's time. And yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Two more less. Clint from Destination Dreaming is with us this evening, and obviously this trip, the last one to run, Clint, was in 2019 as well.
We had a group ready for 2020.
Yeah, which I was going to say similar to what we had with Kokoda as well, and obviously COVID hit, and then since then, obviously the rest you're more than aware of. So Clint's come along tonight to explain what the immersion is like to Timor-Leste, so please welcome Clint from Destination Dreaming.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us back at the school, and just want to acknowledge Red Earth and the Kokoda guys and the language immersions. Great options for schools. We've been doing this for 20 years. I can still remember, like you said earlier, it was almost a travel junket kind of expo that we had at the school here, and not to undermine those, but these are some really quality experiences that you're considering here tonight, and they all offer some really great value. We first started working with the school in 2015. What Destination Dreaming really does is we help set up education partnerships with schools from Australia and New Zealand. We connect them with schools in Fiji, in remote areas, up in East Timor, and we also used to work quite a lot up in Laos and Cambodia. Since COVID, we've scaled right back and we just focus on Timor and Fiji because they're our neighbouring countries, and Yeah, it's Timor-Leste has. I was over there at the start of the year, and whilst a lot of countries got a lot of stimulus money during COVID, they haven't had a lot of progression at all, unfortunately, and so they're really desperately needing some of these partnerships to re-establish. And the one with St Ignatius is on a beautiful location out on Aturo Island, which we'll get to in a little bit. So East Timor. Does everyone know where East Timor is? It's about an hour flight from Darwin. It's one of our closest neighbours, one of the newest nations on the face of the earth. This is when you're asleep.
I was going to show the video.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Are you right to show the video?
Bit of impromptu. Yeah.
Did you want to talk over it?
No, mate, it's okay. This is where we stay on the island. So this video is what was done by the 2018 or 19, and it's mainly out on the island of Aturo Island. That's Dilly. Dilly accommodation. Thanks, Michael. So one of the key features of the program is teaching English in the remote island of Aturo Island. So does anyone know what the national language is in Timor-Leste, formerly known as East Timor?
Brownie, what's the national language?
I was going to go Portuguese.
Yeah, it's Portuguese. And so, 10 points. So it's quite an interesting concept, but you'll learn a lot about part of this, all of the immersions. I expect that there's a lot of learning and preparation in leading up to heading to Timor, and having an understanding of their history is really important. So the Portuguese, part of the European empire that went around the world, occupied East Timor for about 400 years and didn't really develop the country, went broke, went back to Portugal, and then Indonesia stepped in. Remember in 1975, so there was no phones or internet like that, so a lot of things happened, and then they got their independence in 1999-2000, so they're about 24 years old. Timor-Leste, it was formerly known as Portuguese Timor, or East Timor before that. And so in their schools, and you apply for a job in government or anything like that, it is all done in Portuguese. And no one, not a single country on this side of the earth, North or Southern Hemisphere, speak Portuguese. So it's kind of like they did it because they had to honour what their identity was, and to say that they weren't part of the Indonesian culture, they had their own identity. So they're thirsty for learning English. They learn English as a subject through Portuguese. But most of the country speak Bahasa Indonesian. So it's really complex, and they really appreciate us coming over with some lesson plans. I've actually got some that I've just been given to take over, so I'm flying over tomorrow morning, to help them with some basic conversational English, so they can learn it from their teacher through Portuguese, or they can learn it from your son or daughter who can take and have that conversational English. And you would have seen a lot of the little bit of standing up in front of small classes, but lots of just small groups sitting down, having conversations, setting up scenarios, etc., etc. So look, I will stop as well because I'll keep going and going. But as you can see, it's very interactive. And the part of our program, we don't do tours. It's very much about staying in that one spot for that full week and having an immersive experience and really getting to know people's names and their families and their life and what we actually have in common. We have a big focus at Destination Dreaming about looking at measuring wealth in other currencies other than monetary terms, looking at how else can we measure wealth. And also when is charity applicable and when is it not. This is definitely not a charity program. We're very big on the fact that this is an education program and we'll be educating you about sustainable development. We'll observe charity, we'll visit charities, but we're not going on a charity parade or anything like that. We're going to remain students the whole time and we're going to be learning the whole time, sharing the whole time, and as you mentioned earlier, Michael, growing the whole time as well. So we have a term for information session to be confirmed. Thanks for having us, and I look forward to chatting with anyone upstairs when you finish. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint. As you can see from the difference between the Cape York Timor-Leste experience, obviously getting a local view of the issues and then obviously a world view. So it's a great immersions. The next one we have is Kokoda. This one's probably, I've got to try to act not like a salesman when I talk about this. A couple of years ago or 5 years ago, not long after I started, it was initiated between myself and another staff member to get this up and running, and it was a continuation of the time and space evenings. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the time and space evenings. I'm sure some of you in the room would have attended those. And at that stage, pre-COVID, we had another program at Year 9, and it was almost like the continuation of that. It was that we were inviting the parents on a journey with their young person in, as I mentioned at the beginning, in one of the most challenging treks in the world, but at the same time learning about the history of one of our battles that we were fortunate enough, I suppose, to win against the Japanese. So this trip started here in 2019. We only did have one lead, and then the following trip that we had organised, unfortunately due to COVID, didn't get up and running. So it is for, as I keep mentioning, the parent and the child, the opportunity to build that relationship, or not just build, but strengthen that relationship over an 11-day hike. So today we've got Dave from Australian Kokoda Tours. I'm not sure if some of you may be familiar with Mick O'Malley, who runs Australian Kokoda Tours. It's a very, very reputable company that runs the tours over in Kokoda, and he's over there currently, and he's asked Dave to come along this evening. So Dave's seen this presentation
about a minute ago.
For about 30 seconds, right, and he's using wrong about 5 minutes ago. So there's a couple of slides in there and a video as well, but I'm sure if there's any questions at the end, we'll be able to answer them for you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to use the luxury of the microphone because I've got notes. As you were just told, I was sort of thrown in the deep end a little bit here because Mick got called over to a tour. I've been with the company for a couple of years. I was a paying guest 2 years ago. I went over there with my brother-in-law, and I went over there with the view of it's going to be a challenge for me. And I wanted to be the one to finish this track first. I quickly realised that it's nothing to do with that at all. It is a very challenging track, don't get me wrong, but you're there as a team, and you're going to be there with parents as well, and potentially a teacher or two as well. Everybody has to finish at the same time, and it takes whatever you can do to help them to make it to the finish. And that's the one biggest thing that I took away when I first did my first paid trip, was to go, oh, hang on, this isn't about me. This is about us. This is about teamwork. And that's what we teach you along the way, is the teamwork element that the Aussies went through when they first got to Kokoda and realised, oh, hang on, we're going to have to really work hard to win this war. And how we're going to do it? Mateship. And that's how we ended up winning the war, and that's what we try to teach you as much as we can whilst we're over in Kokoda. So Kokoda is a 9-day trek, and it's 96 kilometres over some of the harshest terrain that you've probably ever come across. It's slightly different for the other two tours that they're presenting tonight, that you're probably going to have to do a little bit of hard work leading up to it to get fit for it. And some people do turn up there a little bit unfit. My brother-in-law was one of those, And I think me trying to be the first one over the line, I was actually the last one over the line because I pushed him over the line, helping him up the hill. So it's a 9-day trekking school experience offering an immersion in adventure, resilience and education. Australian Kokoda Tours offers a safe educational trekking experience focusing on interaction with the local communities and developing a greater understanding of a diverse and rich cultural heritage of PNG. The trek will help students develop a sense of worth, self-esteem, along with concepts of teamwork, leadership, motivation, goal setting, self-discipline, peak performance and shared responsibility. The trekking of Kokoda is an enormous achievement. There is only 2% of Australia that's ever trekked Kokoda. And it's actually getting higher and higher as we go. The last 5 years, Kokoda has exploded as an experience for people to complete. So what sets Kokoda apart? Accommodation. Before you go on track, we're lucky enough that we stay at the Hilton, which is a nice 5-star hotel in PNG. It is by far the best hotel in PNG, especially in Port Moresby. Got a lovely little pool in there for you to have a swim and some really, really nice tucker. The track menu. Some other companies run on rations and you would have to carry your own rations. We don't do that. We have a dedicated, it says here chef, but that's probably a little bit of a stretch. It's one of the local guys who is an amazing cook, and what they can do with very, very limited resources is absolutely fantastic. They'll prepare freshly cooked meals to satisfy your taste buds and keep you energised throughout the journey. Savoury dishes that are both nutritious and delicious. Safety. It's one of the biggest things in Kokoda. And what we do over there is we have a dedicated rescue river team, satellite and two-way communication, dedicated mica paramedic to help with anything that may come up. And we also carry something called a Zelio. So over at Kokoda, especially up in this area here, there is no phone reception at all. So we've got a little portable satellite that we take around with us that we can get messages throughout the entire tour to make sure that everybody needs to keep up with anything that's happening back home or what's happening on track to let everybody back home know what's going on. So we do have that ability there as well. One of the biggest parts of the school program is the educational element of it. So we have a cultural day right in the middle of the trek, which is actually quite valuable because you've trekked for 4 days, have a day off from trekking, and during that cultural day we do a few little things in a village called Kagi. It's probably one of the biggest villages along the way, and it's where a lot of our porters are that are carrying the food and all our tents and everything actually come from. So we get to meet some of their families, which is really, really important. We get to do a little bit of farming, perhaps a bit of fence making. We go to school with the kids if they're in school, if it happens to be when we're there. And just envelop ourselves a little bit into their culture. Right, I think we've got a bit of a video to play, so we might jump into that one now.
Yep.
One Saturday, a voice cries within me. Party, you bloody beauty. Namitini, yori baiba. Ayo, kumangi omeri sore lomi. Reini wasimi loribita. Namitini, yori baiba. Ayo, kumangi omeri sore lomi. Lini naduri na seri beremi. Signora qui na sai madura. Signora qui na sai madura.
we've been abandoned on the false peaks. We have to find our way to Naro. In an hour and 20 minutes. We're waiting for 11:45 because Mick has just left us. Yeah, we're literally on a cliff. Yeah. We've done it almost. We're about to walk through the arches when everyone gets up here. We've just finished the last hill.
The main guy singing there was on my last tour about 10 days ago when I got back in here, and I forgot, he doesn't bring the guitar anymore, which is a bit of a shame because I think he broke it along the way one day. But it's beautiful there. One thing that brings me back every time is those porters and the kids that you see along the way. They bring a smile to my face every time I do the trek. Especially the porters. They are the most beautiful, kind-hearted people you'll ever meet. They'll do anything for you, as you saw there, helping you down the track. They'll be carrying 20-something kilos on their back. You'll have a couple, and they'll be carrying you down some of the hills too. They make the experience totally worth it. So if you do get the chance to do it, please do, and I hope you come on the tour one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Now, Diane, thank you. I wasn't sure whether we were going to have anyone talk about the language trips, but
yes, mate.
Thank you very much. So Diane's one of our staff here. Please welcome Diane to talk about the language.
Thank you so much for having me. In 2018, I was lucky enough to go to be one of the staff members to attend the Italian tour, and it was the most amazing experience I reckon I've had in my whole teaching career. To see the students, immerse themselves in the Italian culture, speak the Italian language, and just develop a sense of confidence with their language was well worth the experience for these particular students. Julia Hall, 2018 was the last time the Italian language tour has occurred. We tried 2020, but COVID. 2022, they still weren't going. 2024, we haven't been able to get a trip up, and so we're going to try again in 2026. Indonesian, Julia Hall is unable to be here today, but they are going next week on the first tour since 2018 as well, so that should be an amazing experience for them. The reason why I'm here is language tours go every 2 years. So I don't have a big presentation like the other three experiences have here today. Our opportunity will be for next year. because we'll be promoting our language tours next year and having a parent information evening next year as well. Why I'm here is I understand it's a really big commitment for families to investigate the best experience for their child to do, and hence we thought it was really important for us to let you know that we are actively seeking language tours for 2026. Language tours provide the opportunity for students to practice their speaking, listening and reading skills whilst immersing themselves in the culture and learning the history of their chosen country. If your child is wanting to continue and complete their Indonesian or Italian into their VCE, we highly recommend the consideration of this experience. As I said, we understand it's a big commitment, hence we thought it was important for families, when making your decision, to be aware that this is going to happen in 2026. I am very happy to speak to anyone up there in the foyer, but also our email is also in the booklet that you've all got here tonight, so I can answer any questions you may have as well. We don't have an itinerary yet because we haven't actually started the process of organising our tour. That starts next year because we've still got over 2 years to go before our next tour. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jan. And I think that concludes the presentations in relation to each individual trip. As you see, we have got a lot of things on offer here, lots of different immersions, and we hope that they have all, sparked something in you, whether it's the Cape York, Timor-Leste, Kokoda, or the language trips as well. So hopefully you've got something out of this evening. The process in terms of moving forward here, your young person would have received an expression of interest form, so we're kind of using those as a way of gauging interest on the trips and getting emails as well. But please watch out for the emails that will come out from the school in terms of showing how or being able to express your interest in any of those particular trips. By all means, hang around in the foyer this evening to ask any questions of any of those trips or the experiences. As I said, a number of our staff here, including myself, have been on those immersions, so we're more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Great job. Will you head up there and